Right, so just to start off our session, ka tīmata I te karakia, we'll start with our day with karakia. Right, Mānawa mai e te rangi e tūnei, Mānawa mai e te papai raro nei, Mānawa mai e ngā mākuru o te rangi, whenua, o tō manawa o tō manawa, ka whakairi ake ki runga, kia tīna, haumi, hui e tai ki. Nau mai whakatata mai te tēnei wānanga kōrero, nō kui te taikokero ki kai tāi a peka atu ki ngāiwi o te motu, nau mai haere mai, nau mai hoki mai, tēnā rā tātou katoa e raro mai nei. E rere ana ngā au o mihi, ki runga i a koutou katoa, welcome once, welcome twice, welcome 3 times. Nō reira, tēnei e mihi nei, ki a koutou katoa. I am your host today, Riri. We've got my team, Kelly and Lee, working the magic in the background. Te hāpai o, nō reira, tēnei ngā mihi e rere atu nei mai te tīma. We've also got Jackie Chan, has joined us, Practice Foundation team, and we'll be doing the illustrations for our 2025 series. Jackie will share the start of her illustration at the end of our session, and the full illustration will be shared to use all online in another 2 weeks. Nō reira, tēnei au mihi nei kia koutou katoa. Ko rarau mai I tēnei rangi, I tēnei ata, o tēnei wānanga kōrero. So welcome to this session, which is going to be a good one, I hope, and he's hoping that we get all the pātai so that we can answer them. Our purpose for Practice Foundation is to provide a space for those working in the public sector who are working in complex environments to come together with other like-minded people. We'd like to acknowledge that this is a difficult time for many people, and we would like to encourage and support everyone to take good care of themselves and each other as much as they can. We hope to find coming together today is restorative. We have Kelly that's there in the background. If you have any questions, any issues or concerns, please feel free to reach out to Kelly. We also want to let everyone know that we won't be allowing any bots like Read AI to attend the session. This is in order to keep a safe place for people to connect. If you're unable to attend, most of our sessions are recorded and can be watched online. So what have we got in store for you all today? Our purpose or rhythm for the session today is when Mātauranga Māori is centered, innovation and system shifts naturally emerge. Led by whānau, grounded in place and measured through Tohu. Today's session, led by Healthy Families Far North, my team, will explore practical tools and case studies that bring this to life. So so just know that I play 2 roles today. There might be times where I answer some questions depending on what pātai we have, because I'm holding 2 roles, a host and helping Healthy Families, my beautiful team. During our 90-minute session, we will have whakakapi with small breakout groups, hear from Healthy Families Far North, go back into breakout groups for some reflection time, come together as a wānanga to discuss some kōrero. So to start off our day, we've got, I'll introduce our kai kōrero. So we have He Ngāpuhi, He Te Rarawa, raised in Avondale, my Tipene, has a proven track record in developing initiatives grounded in Mātauranga Māori. He now leads Healthy Families Far North team as our manager. Also, we have Tapi Tua, He Ngāti Rehia, He Ngāti Wai. Tapi Tua brings experience and understanding for the region and the needs of people and the communities here in the Far North. Having spent a large time, part of her life working in education, Tawhi sees the importance of setting goals and realizing personal and collective potential, strong foundational concepts and systems change. Ka hoa tū te rako kōrero ki a koe e te tungane, e mai tipene. Tēnā koe.
Tūki runga, tūki raro, tūki whiawhia, tūka whakapataina ki te whaiao, ki te ao mārama, tihei mauri ora. Mātuara ka mihi atu ki a koe, e riri nau I kawia te reo whakamuimiti ki te katuwhirau tā tātou nei hui I te ata nei. Ka motu e mihi atu ana ki a koutou, tātou mā, aha kua ki hia, e mihi atu ana ki a koutou, e pari atu ngā tai o mihi ki a koutou katoa, nau mai, hare mai, morena. Morena everybody, my name's Mai Tipene. I'm the manager for Healthy Families Far North. Believe it or not, that was really, really tough for me to start and only speak for about 10 seconds. I usually take way longer, so I'm learning to trim things up, particularly for today's sessions. So mihi atu ana ki a koutou. I'm going to start us off today in our first session. which is really the Whanaungatanga breakout session. So before we jump into that session, I want to speak to Whanaungatanga itself, to give those of you that may not be familiar with the concept of Whanaungatanga, an idea of what it is. Commonly understood as relationships. I want you to dive a little bit deeper into Whanaungatanga, and I hope to share a Māori worldview with you today. So Whanaungatanga, more than relationships, more than introductions. Whanaungatanga, to make like family. Key word being whānau. So if we think about whānau, if we think about those relationships that are closest to us, we both have relationships with people that we find easy to communicate with. We also are able to navigate complexity, hard conversations, and still remain family. So if Whanaungatanga is looked at as an outcome rather than a process, maybe we might go through the process with a bit more intention. So today, Te Whānau, during our breakout session, I ask you to be intentional about Whanaungatanga. I ask you to be purposeful about Whanaungatanga, not just to rattle off your pepeha that you may have learned, although important. Without intention, we are not trying to achieve Whanaungatanga. We are purely trying to introduce ourselves. So Whanaungatanga today, I want you to look at it through the lens of family, to make like family. And although this isn't, we're not going to achieve this in today's session. Whanaungatanga as an outcome is something that is enduring. It takes purpose, it takes effort, and it takes a long time. However, when we get it right, systems shift. So as we go into our breakout room, there's a couple of partai that I want you to answer. So firstly, when you go into your breakout room, introduce yourself, your name, whatever feels important to you. If you have a pepeha, by all means, share that. But there's, in particular, a couple of questions that I want to ask. So, first question, and we'll also put it in the chat, sorry. There's the partai. Share a connection that has had a lasting positive impact on you. That can be with anyone, with anything. Second question, what was it about that relationship that made the impact so meaningful? So those are the two partai that I want you to answer in the breakout room. So have a think about that, and we'll head into those breakout rooms now. Kia ora tātou, mihi ana kia koutou.
So mihi ana kia koutou katoa. What we're going to do now, I'm going to introduce you to another team member of Healthy Families, He uri no ngā puhi, Rachel, who is passionate to see a thriving tai tokerau shaped by our people, for our people. She brings a wealth of knowledge from her time as a councillor with the Far North District Council, with a focus on places for people, community empowerment and sustainability for our mokopuna. Nō reira, ka tukuna te rākau kōrero kia koe e hoa e te tuakana e Rachel.
Tēnā koe e hoa, atamari e te whānau. I hope you are all feeling epic today. It's really beautiful to be here in the capacity that we are as Healthy Families. So, ko wai mātou. Healthy Families, Far North, is part of a national health prevention movement with a unique whānau-centred way of doing our mahi here in Taitokoro. We're a small but mighty team of 9 dotted across the Far North inside of our own communities. You all know Riri Motu, our Aotearoa Māori, through her epicness as our co-host and partner of Practice Foundations. I just want to give her a particular shout out today for wearing the 2 different pōtai, both as our co-host and as a member of our team. Mihi ana kia koe e hoa. Mike Tipene, who you have already met, Tawhi and Talei Anderson will be joining our kōrero today. Sasha is in the background running our beautiful slides, as well as Tiriana, Papa Rau and Adelina, who are all here in the background to support. So our contract rohi, as you can see, is massive. From Te Rere-Wairua up in the very top down to Tawhi in the south, taking 3 hours to drive from east to west or north to south. But the magic isn't in how big Arohi is. It's about how we shift systems at scale in that space by working in relationship at a really hyper-local level. So our approach isn't just about delivering programs across the district for whānau. Our superpower is leveraging and building high-trust relationships in small pockets of communities, whether it be in Ahipara, in the Hokianga, or in Kororareka Russell. By listening closely, learning about what works, and then elevating whānau as the designers of their own solutions, that's how we shift systems. Not by imposing answers, but by recognising the tohu, the signs that tell us when conditions are right for change, and then making sure that those conditions ripple right across the wider system of taitokoro. Sash, can I get you to just jump to the next slide, please? But this kind of systems change doesn't just happen from the outside in. It happens when we're in relationship, right deep on the ground, working in relationship to be able to scale up and scale out. The far north is more Māori than non-Māori, and our whānau Māori experience disproportionately high rates of chronic illness. To be effective in our mahi, our practice needs to be grounded in Mātauranga and tikanga Māori. Even for those of us who are tangata tiriti, our tools are shaped by the knowledge and wisdom that already exists inside of our places and of our people. Māori have always been innovators, disruptors, designers. Solutions come alive when the conditions are right, and those conditions are created through connection, relationships that can be seen, heard, and felt right down at that very hyper-local level. That's the uniqueness of Healthy Families Far North. We know that we can only have impact at scale if we are first in deep, authentic relationship with our people and with our place. Our relationships are our taonga. So this all sounds beautiful in theory, right? But what does it look like in practice? I'm going to hand the rākau back over to Mike and to Tawhi now, who are going to take you on a bit of a haerenga through the tools that we use in order to be able to work this way.
Kia ora tātou. So our tools, what are our tools? This is going to be really simple and very complicated at the same time. So our tools, Whanaungatanga, kaitiakitanga, manakitanga, and citing tohu. I'm going to speak to you firstly about Whanaungatanga. I want to talk to you today about Whanaungatanga, particularly reminding ourselves that Whanaungatanga is an outcome, not a process. If we think back to our breakout session in Whanaungatanga, those relationships, those deep-rooted relationships that were so impactful to you, if that is the example of Whanaungatanga, then that is what we are trying to achieve every time. If we can move towards what I would call the ultimate relational outcome, being Whanaungatanga, systems will shift, systems can shift. Excuse me. I want to maybe allude to the fact that I believe and we believe that systems aren't bricks and mortar. Systems aren't the schools. Systems aren't the roads. Systems aren't the physical things. All of those things are assets managed by people, decided by people, resources, money that shift based on decisions made by people. If we can build better and more effective relationships with those people that make decisions, we will shift systems. So Whanaungatanga for us is the ultimate innovation tool for change. It helps us to ensure that the decisions that need to be made are being made, because those decisions about the roads, about the schools, about all of those things we see in the physical realm aren't made by those things. The buildings, the schools in your, the buildings in your school, they don't make decisions. They don't decide what the curriculum is and who gets to learn and who doesn't. People do. So think about Whanaungatanga as your ultimate innovation tool, as your ultimate systems change tool. Think of Whanaungatanga as that tool that helps you to create a relationship that is similar to family. So Whanaungatanga, remembering the word, the root word being whānau, family. Whanaungatanga is more than a process that we tag onto the front of our hui, where we say, introduce yourself, let's have a round of Whanaungatanga. Whanaungatanga is purposeful effort. Whanaungatanga is purposeful effort day after day after day. If you think back to some of those meaningful relationships, those relationships were enduring, and it was because of purposeful effort. Purposeful effort can look like many things. It can look like the phone call every week, every day. It can look like catch-ups, like chats, but it is purposeful effort. We do not accidentally have 20-year relationships. Those things do not last by accident. They are purposeful, they are meaningful, and they are protected because of those things. We protect meaningful relationships because they mean something to us. So if our intention, if we could find an intention to try and achieve relationships similar to that in all of our relationships, those tough conversations, those courageous conversations that you may need to have, they will be a lot easier, because we know when we're in a state of whānau or family, courageous conversations can happen, but we recover from them faster. We don't take them personally because we know there's no intention to hurt, because we're whānau. So if we go into our relationships with that intention of becoming family or having he āhuatanga o rite, a similar vibration of family, then tough conversations happen easier. So whanaungatanga, that's our first tool. Now again, we're not going to learn the in-depths of whanaungatanga. What I did want to share with you today is a Māori worldview, not to remove the common understanding that we have of relationships. That is very much what whanaungatanga is. However, it's a step towards. The introduction that you do at the start of a meeting or at the start of a hui where you deliver your pepeha, that is the first step. But there's many more steps after that. That's the start of the relationship. If our intention is to build a meaningful relationship, we then need to maintain that relationship. Whanaungatanga is enduring, and it takes continuous effort for as long as you want that relationship to remain. So mihi atuna kia koutou. I want to hand over to Tawhi to speak about our next two tools.
Morena koutou. Thanks, Mike and Rach, and of course the lovely, vibrant Lily with all the energy. Hey, it's always nice to see Lily when she's just in her element. Yeah, Lily. Morena koutou. So kaitiakitanga, we all know what kaitiaki is, hey, and it's always we always connected to it's about looking after the taiao. Which is true, but also how do we connect that as healthy families into the mahi that we do? So for us, it's more than just the taiao. It's what's the connection to the taiao that we have in our area? What's the connection to our maunga? What's the kōrero or the karanga that our maunga has to us? Like, what does that take? It's about, the way we use it is about, the connection to place. Elevating pūrākau, centering kōrero tuku iho to deepen the connection and a sense of belonging. If I think about one kaupapa that we are using, it kind of embraces all of the things about kaitiakitanga. Te Amo Pūtoro is a marahupara that we are unveiling soon. I'm just going to plug that in there, team. We are opening it very soon. But even though it's a play space, it's like when you build a playground, you increase active movement. When you build a marahupara, like Te Amo Pūtoro, you embed kōrero tōku iho into the space of play and active movement. You level up that active movement participation. You're telling stories of tangata whenua in that place. So because you're in that area, you're already connected to that. You know where these markers are that are in this place that you live in. And we know that it's a privilege to live not just in this place where we have helped to build a marahupara, but in your places that you live too. You have a reach to the whānau that are on the edges because they see themselves in that space. Like, if for us here in Kirikiri, most of our residents here, they know where Te Awa o Ngā Rangatira is, and that's following right through the marahupara, and that's their connection into it. So even though they know where it is, they're like, oh, okay, I know where that is. I need to make an effort to look after that space as well. So we are making those connections and being intentional, like you heard Mike say, about what it is that we're doing here. How do we bring whānau in? How do we create that Whanaungatanga to be more intentional about the stuff that we do? So yeah, they are connected to who they are and where they come from. And it also enables the storytelling, not just of our kids, but of their kids and their kids' kids. So it's a open playbook that's just always being retold and retold. So it's a living document, literally a living document, which our kids and their kids and their kids will be able to take pride in. And then it's not just on the tangata whenua to look after, it's in the kaitiakitanga as well, that's spread across the whole community. And by that, it is strengthening the connection to our people of their place. Like, we've had so many volunteers on help out with our Māra hupara that they've actually got their DNA in that. And that gives them a sense of connection, you know, a sense of pride into something that is a community. It's not a park, but that's what word is popping at the moment. But it's a community play space that everybody gets to enjoy, and it's not just for one people. So that's how we connect kaitiakitanga into our mahi, and being more intentional about the spaces that we bring people into and how they connect to the spaces. So then, yeah, again, it just goes across everybody, and it's not just one person's job. It's not just one hapu's job, or, you know, City Care will take care of that. It then becomes an ownership for all of us. So yeah, that's our kaitiakitanga and how we use it as a tool, just being more intentional about how we connect people to the spaces and places that we need them to be in, or that they want to be in, to be able to grow better and see better results, outcomes for themselves. Manaakitanga. My team, they always tease me because they say that I'm the Manaakitanga queen, which is like what Riri was doing and cringing just before. And while we think of Manaaki, it's more than just turning up with kai, or, you know, having kai on the table, or just offering a cup of tea. While those things are important, it's also about how are you turning up. You heard Riri earlier in the session, watch your mauri meter, because that's another way or a measure to be, oh, they're not good today. Okay, so, you know, like, it's how are you turning up as well. Being respectful by turning up on time and just making sure that you're ready for whatever hui is going on, or whatever you're turning up for, whatever you've said that you're going to do, making sure that you're ready and giving that person the respect and the care that you're here wholeheartedly. What we do here in Far North, and it's not just us here, it's right across the board. Everybody has their own way of manaakitanga, but this is how it works for us, and this is what is showing up in our mahi. It's treating each whānau and each kaupapa with uniqueness. Like, what we did here doesn't necessarily work over here. So we've got to figure out how that works for each whānau, each rōpū, because we know that no two situations are the same. We have to understand whānau needs, make sure that their best interests are at the forefront. And sometimes they don't like coming to town. So if that's what it takes, then we're going to go to you. Or if that means we've got to go to the marae because they feel safer in that space, then that's where we're going to go. And that's how we incorporate manaakitanga into what we do with whānau. Yeah, and like Mike was saying earlier with Whanaungatanga, it's not a one-off thing, hey, it's a continuous mahi that you do have to work at. It's about uplifting others, it's about creating safe spaces and making sure people walk away knowing that their voice and their mana and their journey matter. It's not just this one thing that we're working on at the moment, it's all the things that happen outside of this, and the next thing and the next thing that comes. It's a journey. It's not an outcome, and it's forever a process. It's something that you just continually have to work at. It's not just the one transaction thing. And that's why it's so we know, and we've seen it through different kaupapa, that when you have that manaakitanga instilled, people continue to show up for you, and that's the reciprocity that we have. They know that we're going to show up, so they show up for us too. And it feels good when you know that that's the change that you can see in people. And even though it's not in a system, people are system, like what Mike was saying. And if we can change the way that people do and how they deal with stuff, then that's a win for us. It's the little celebrations that we do here in the office, that know that what we do outside of the office matters, and that is making a change. So that's our manaakitanga. It's more than just turning up with kai. Back to you, Mike.
Kia ora tātou. Thanks, Tawhi. So our last tool i te whānau is tohu sighting. I'm not going to go too into the depths of tohu, because I feel that tohu has come up as a tool in many presentations before us. It very much comes up in Hutu Waka. So what I do want to do is give a brief explanation of tohu, but more so how we use tohu in conjunction or in relation to our other tools. So tohu, roughly understood, is to sight change, is to sight our environmental signs. Tohu literally meaning sign or signal. So within the context of Whanaungatanga, how do we sight Whanaungatanga? What's the tohu? What are the tohu of effective Whanaungatanga practice? So if we think about Whanaungatanga as an outcome, how do we use tohu, or how do we understand tohu to know that we are getting closer to that extreme or ultimate goal of Whanaungatanga? It could be more regular conversations. It could be a warming of people to you, a warming of yourself to people. Those are all tohu that are often not captured within numbers and data. Tohu are emotions, tohu are feelings, ngā karea roto, ngā piropiro, wera momo. So it's how we feel. It's how we feel about each other. It's those emotional changes. Those are tohu of Whanaungatanga. Remembering keyword in Whanaungatanga being whānau, kaitiakitanga. I want to draw you to the keyword within kaitiakitanga, and that is tiaki, to care, to nurture. So what is a tohu that could indicate a progression of kaitiakitanga? Is it people are more aware of the environment, for example, the environmental impacts, the socio-economic impacts of today, and they are more willing to do something about it or to help each one another? Those are all tohu. Manaakitanga. I want to draw you to the keyword within manaakitanga, which is mana. Mana aki. To aki one's mana is to uplift, to hold someone's mana. We all have mana. We are born with it. Manaakitanga asks us to take care of each other's mana, to ensure each and every engagement with each other, we leave feeling empowered, not belittled. That takes intentional effort. Just like intentional effort to not hold someone's mana. To takahi someone's mana would be the opposite. To trample on someone's mana. So what are those signs, or what are those tohu, those markers of change and success that tell us that we are getting the whole manaakitanga thing right? Is there kai? Is there introductions happening? Are you, for your hui, for example, are you well prepared? Your ability to show someone manaaki is to ensure that if you host a hui, that you have prepared everyone that is attending your hui, that they are well informed about the kaupapa, the reason for the hui, that they have all the pre-reading that is required, that they know why they're required at this hui. That is your side of manaakitanga. Their side of manaakitanga, because manaakitanga is holds a level of reciprocity. It's a duality thing. It's not just a give. You meet in the middle. The other side of manaakitanga, as the participant in that hui, looks like you coming well prepared you coming on time, you have done your pre-reading, you are open and willing to contribute to that hui. That's what manakitanga looks like in practice. It's not just biscuits and cups of tea. It's far beyond hospitality. Manakitanga is me giving you the most valuable thing I have, which is my time, my ears, my eyes. That is manakitanga in practice. If we can achieve that with our whānau, and hopefully through Whanaungatanga, they offer us the same thing in return, we will see the tohu. So tohu today, we're not diving so deep into what tohu is, it's how to use tohu across these other tools. I want to finally finish with the idea and the concept that these tools don't live in isolation of each other. They complement each other. They are required to work together. You cannot just focus on one and go, I don't need the rest, or I'll learn the rest at another time. They work in conjunction with each other. So whanaungatanga, you cannot have as an outcome in the absence of manakitanga. You cannot achieve kaitiakitanga in the absence of whanaungatanga, being in relationship. So that's how we use our tools at Te Whānau. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump over to a video of one of our kaupapa, He Manuao. He Manuao is essentially a rangatahi-led initiative to create a subsidy fund for active movement, particular to the far north. I won't give too much away about the kaupapa itself. The kaupapa is self-explanatory within the video. What I do want to do, though, is ask you a few questions. While you're watching this video, I want to ask you to look for those tools in action. Where does whanaungatanga show up? Where does manakitanga show up? Where does kaitiakitanga show up? And what are the tohu? So mea tōna kia koutou, enjoy the video. Over to you, Sash.
We're now going to play the video.
He Manuao is a group made up of 3 rangatahi who created a subsidy fund to help remove sport barriers here in Te Hikotika. To design this fund, we needed different aspects, different insights of what rangatahi need here in Te Hikotika. This pool of money will be distributed evenly and fairly across all aspects of sports, and most importantly, everyone who wanted to apply for this fund.
How do you think pūtea or money can support rangatahi like you?
Can help them with the expenses, paying for the gears that you need to do what you want to do.
Yeah, it's helped me a lot, just making my diving easier with the equipment.
Sporting can look a little bit different here in the far north. We have so much access to the tile, which our rangatahi are actually so involved in. Fishing, hunting, diving, there's more to it than just rugby, touch, netball. So much of our tamariki are doing those things to keep active. We are lucky enough to have a vast range of sports here in Te Hikotika. When we invited different rangatahi into our wānanga, or our space, and we gathered their ideas, their insights, it sort of opened up our vision a little more in terms of creating this pūtea and how we can make it accessible and how we can make it easy for our rangatahi to apply for, and how we create this pool for different walks of life.
Who gets it? Where is the money?
Ko tāku he haumai I te mauri I te wairua tau, I te wairua aio, nā ka pua wai ka puta ko ngā whakaaro o tērā o ngā rangatahi I haumai ki tēnei o ngā wāhi kōrero. We test ran this funding first. We ran it across our board of rangatahi we had. We made sure that it fit what they wanted, it made them happy, that they thought that it was something that they would apply for.
Richard Jackson's explaining the
even down to like the wording of the subsidy fund. If the wording was too hard, you know, we changed it. We asked them, how would you better understand this sentence, or how would you better understand this question? Do we break it down? Just the little things really mattered in this funding. It was a touch and go type of thing. We learnt on our way. We learnt different things while we were creating this subsidy fund. E hara I te mea me mātanga koe kia timata, engari me timata koe kia mātanga ai. I roto i tēnei momo wāhi, ka whakawātea i ngā momo taimahatanga o te ao, nā ka taia e koe te hua mai o whakaaro i o no reira i hanga hautahi me taku rōpū i tēnei momo wāhi mō ngā rangatahi, kia hau mai ki konei, kia whakawaha i wā rātou whakaaro aha kua te aha. Personally, I have struggled with coming up with pūtea to be able to travel worldwide for a certain sport. So being able to create this pool of money to be accessible for our kids and our rangatahi, you know, there's no barriers, so they can do what they want, play where they want, go where they want, buy what they want with this pūtea within reason. Personally, I thought at the beginning of this rōpū that, you know, it was just going to be 2-second job, not much to it. But actually I learned so much along the way, and I made some great connections within this rōpū, and it has helped me grow in ways that I didn't think I could, to be honest. Hei aki ngā kōrero mā te hunga pūtea, me whai whakaaro ki te hunga rangatahi, me noho tahi ki te hunga rangatahi, me whakarongo ki wā rātou whakaaro ki tā rātou e hiahia ana i roto i tā rātou, i wā rātou takahanga i roto i tēnei ao, no reira, he mea nui. And yeah, give back to your people, because at the end of the day, it's what it's all about. Kia ora.
Right, so that's the video. What we're going to do now is we're going to break out into your breakout groups. We're going to introduce the pātai. So the next lot of pātai that we have before you go into breakouts is, which moment felt like whanaungatanga to you? Where do you sense manaakitanga or kaitiakitanga? And what do you see, hear and feel based on what you've just watched? Kelly's going to drop all these pātai into the chat forum for you all to reflect back on. If you can all go into your breakout groups to share your kōrero based on what you're seeing. Kia ora, mama. Ka pai. So I'm going to introduce you to our next guest speaker. Ko te ato ki te rangi, ko te upori ki te whenua, our very own strategic comms innovator, Talei, turns complex ideas into clear, engaging stories that inspire action, connect people and drive change. She's also a super mama of two, balancing whānau and impact with ease. Tēnā koe, e hoa?
Morena, wow, what an intro, thank you, Riri. Morena e te iwi. We've had some really awesome reflections that you've all seen in the video this morning. Some are subtle, some are more obvious, but all of them tell a story about what's happening. And that's really what Tohu sighting is about, right? It's noticing the signs that tell us we're in the right place and we're moving in the right direction. So when we think about he Manuao, those Tohu began well before the kaupapa existed. They came through kōrero tuku iho that we heard from our whānau in Te Hiku, specifically what it takes for them to participate in sport, what that looks like. And so when the opportunity to create he Manuao came around, we didn't have to question ourselves like whether this was a thing. We didn't have to convince ourselves or anyone else. We knew it was a thing because we'd seen the tohu, we heard them, we saw them. Some of us have even experienced them. So our job as Hāti families was just kind of move with the tohu and to support our tai tamariki, to try a thing, design a thing, and to create something that works for them. And what that ended up being was the subsidy fund. And yeah, so of course, that wouldn't be possible without whanaungatanga. One of the reflections in our rōpū was that you could see there was really intentional manaakitanga, like they had known each other for a very long time, and that's exactly what it was in this case. Sometimes when we do these co-design sessions, it can take months to get somewhere where we aspire to, right? But in this case, a lot of these tai tamariki, they were born and raised in Te Hiku. So their lives have crossed in some way, shape or form, whether that be shared whakapapa whānau, they've attended the same kura, sports teams. They've got those shared similar life experiences. So they already have that like years of shared connection. And that Whanaungatanga meant that we weren't starting from scratch, but we were just using that, we're springboarding straight into the mahi because that foundation of trust already existed. So yeah. And then of course, manaakitanga and kaitiakitanga, for us, again, and just speaking back to Mike's kōrero, it's hard to distinguish what's manaakitanga, kaitiakitanga because they all overlap. All of these tools are interconnected. And so for he Manuao, manaakitanga looked like making wānanga times and locations accessible, making sure there was kai and koha to acknowledge our tai tamariki's contribution, creating a safe space where tai tamariki felt respected, they felt seen, and they felt confident to engage. In that video where you saw the tai tamariki, you know, playing games, believe it or not, that's the first time that they've come together as a rōpū, and even like Lily was leading in that space with Judy too, and it just felt like it was a vibe. I mean, you guys already know Lily's a vibe, so that whole space was just, yeah, really shaped by how we manaaki. And I think for us as well, manaakitanga extends beyond just working with our tai tamariki and our whānau, but the video crew was a great example of that. By holding this space with care and respect, our tai tamariki felt safe to share their stories honestly with us. And you can see that in the videos, knowing that their experiences would be honoured. And I guess that level of care allowed us to capture the depth of impact that you see in the videos. And if you do have time, please go and watch some of our other impact videos. They're really, really beautiful because I think that they're a true reflection of what's possible when you lead with these tools. So yeah, quick plug there.
Kia ora, tēnā koe Talei. We're going to ask now for everyone from your sessions that you had in your breakout sessions. If you've got anything from those sessions that you'd like to share, kōrero, this is the open wānanga for us all now. If you want to have a kōrero, please put your hand up or unmute yourself and start to share some of the gems that you had with your people in the breakout rooms. Kia ora, Samara. Yes, we'll share the links for the videos. Iruini, there was one kōrero that you jotted down in the chat forum. E harai te mea me mātanga koe kia tīmata, engari kia tīmata kia mātanga ai koe. Would you like to share what you think that is in your kōrero? Iruini?
Yeah, sure can.
Tēnā koe, Robert.
Tēnā koe riri. Tuatahi māku ka mihi atu kia koutou. Ngā kaimahi, ngā kai kōrero tō tātou wānanga I tēnei ata. Ka mihi atu kia koutou, me tō koutou pukumahi, ki te arahi, te hāpuri o te tai tokerau. Yeah, so that whakatauki that rangatahi mentioned, yeah, it struck a chord with me. You know, that kōrero, e harai te mea me mātanga koe kia tīmata, engari me tīmata kia mātanga. In my hinengaro, in my roro, that translates into you don't have to be an expert to start, but you have to start to be an expert. And I think that's such a powerful whakatauki to share with our rangatahi. It's such a powerful whakatauki to be expressed by rangatahi. You know, in this big scary world, I've often seen our rangatahi have been sport with choice, and in that, in the vast options available to them, sometimes it can be a bit intimidating to even begin a journey. But this whakatauki, I think, is very helpful because it gives guidance towards just starting and beginning a process. And being a tamaiti that grew up in the cities of Auckland and Tāmaki, our access to diving spaces, riding horses, being in the bush, it was limited. And I had those experiences when I would go and hang out with my cousins in the rural spaces. And being a city slicker, according to them, it was often viewed that we didn't have those skills, we didn't have that access to the taiao. But then my uncles would just drag us in there and get in the water, boy, get on the horse. You know, because you can't engage with any of this mahi, with any of this kaupapa unless you just start. So he tino pai tēnei kōrero māku, and it's beautiful to hear and see that whakatauki being spoken amongst our rangatahi. Kia ora.
Mel, it's not that I want to pick on you, Mel Tuna, but I see that you had a kōrero to normalising the kind of physical activity that's been shared on our videos and the return of investment. Did you want to talk more to that kōrero?
That was more just me being passive aggressive. I have no other chat other than the disconnect between the value add versus the current financial framing of things in this government setting, and how we might traverse the selling of both of those messages. For something so small and so meaningful, and the intergenerational impact that a saddle would create for a young person, how do we shape and share and grow that messaging in government spaces where people might be like, what, why are you spending that money on that, something like that, you know? So that was our kōrero in our group, room number 11.
Is there anyone else that would like to share any kōrero that they shared in their chat forum, in their breakout groups? Or any pātais? I'm trying to scroll through.
Oh, Didi, I had a pātai, if that's all right.
Kia
ora tātou. Oh, firstly, just big mihi to the team up north. Wonderful, wonderful, beautiful mahi. So, he mahi nui kia koutou. I was just wondering, and I love it how there's the power of the kaitiakitanga, and it really stood out for me, the video about it being, you know, hyper localized, culturally grounded, rangatahi led, so all beautiful. But I was just wondering, sort of based on what Mel was talking to, from the work that you're doing, what are you guys seeing are the systems levers or opportunities or conditions? So you've done the great work and we can see that it works for rangatahi, but what are you seeing as the systems opportunities to change the way the system values sports and rec activities? Have they emerged yet where you think, oh, okay, this is either the policy or this is the procurement or this is the place where we might have a systems change impact?
Well, I think Rach can answer to that.
Tēnā koe, Ange. Beautiful pātai, beautiful pātai. He Manuao was a part of the localities prototype under the Plaiora Act. Taikorahi was the Te Hiku localities prototype. So we were blessed with a perfect storm of shifting of resources through that prototyping. And so what that meant was that not only was it a more localized approach to commissioning, so they were up for doing different, but then of course when the legislation changed, it actually opened doors for us to push against more levers, which is where we were able to really push hard on those things that we knew, the things that we needed to reframe physical activity. We needed to ensure that the subsidy went to individuals, not to organisations of organised sports, because that doesn't work for Te Hiku or for Tai Tokoro. So we were blessed with this perfect storm, which meant that Riri in particular was able to be a real solid stone in the shoe and push hard against those boundaries and demonstrate what happens when we do that. And what happened is that nothing bad happened, which we knew was going to happen, and all of this beautiful impact came out of it instead. So our aspiration from here is to be working alongside the likes of Sport New Zealand with Tū Manawa Fund. They are really interested in looking at how to make this work in a more localised approach. We've also been looking at different models of funding, collectivised funding, bringing multiple agencies on board to put small amounts of pūtea into investing in these outcomes. A, because we know from our mahi on other kaupapa that means it's more sustainable, and B, it means that that the investment is smaller, so the risk is smaller as well. So our hope is that from this kaupapa and demonstrating what happens when we do the things that system tells us we shouldn't, the epicness that comes of that is that we are already leading into those opportunities because we've shown how to do that. Does that answer your pātai?
Ai, ngā mihi.
Any other pātai that you'd like to ask healthy families or any other kororo? Te reo, tēnā koe papa. Good to see you on. Is there any other gems that you'd like to share?
We spoke in our little group about how Judy, is that her name? Judy mentioned how she noticed or she was aware of her own growth within the rōpū. And we can celebrate all the wonderful thing that happens because of this, but also just the opportunity that it gives our rangatahi to build on their own capabilities and capacity within groups like this or things like this. So we thought that was something to be celebrated as well.
Tēnā koe. We've also got a hinero, kōrero about manaakitanga in full sense.
Kia ora koutou. Yes, it was. It really resonated with me with the description and broader context around manaakitanga with regards to looking beyond putting on a cup of tea, putting on a kai, and all those other aspects of manaakitanga that actually make the wānanga experience fulsome, wholesome. And that everybody gets, for one of a better reference, bang for buck in that experience, and they want to be a part of that part of the wānanga. Just thinking about the pre-engagement, what is it that we're doing to enable whānau to step into the wānanga space, step out of everything else that they've come from, step in effectively into the wānanga space and to get the best out of the hui, more than just those of us who might have organised the hui or maybe facilitating the hui. And we all have our own kind of like, oh, well, we're organising this because we want this out of this, or we want this from the whānau. It's always, maybe not always, but, try to get away from that. We want, and really go and look at it as, who is it that needs to be benefiting from this entire wānanga experience besides ourselves? So being quite deliberate, I suppose, and there was really, I thought it was really cool reminders about what does that look like, actually, other than, pouring a cuppa or whatever the case is. So, yeah, really good. That was really awesome.
I think one good tohu that you see from good manaakitanga is when you get the invite. You get invited to all the things, which, I think accounts for a lot of credit for yourself if you're doing the right thing in terms of all those tools. Then it shows by your relationships with other organisations, with other people. So yeah, tētahi mehana kia tātou katoa whai wahi mai I tēnei rangi. It's been a good wānanga session. I know we didn't have much time to really dive deep into the kōrero as much as we would like. But first, I just wanted to say thank you very much for everyone attending today. You'll see all the links if you haven't already on our chat forum. You'll see all the links to the YouTube for Healthy Families. You really sold ourselves today, Healthy Families. But yeah, just wanted to say thank you to Practice Foundation for allowing the time for Healthy Families to share the kōrero and the tools that that we use in our mahi. So we'll just to close off our session, I'm just gonna get Jackie to show a starting of her illustration, which will be completed in 2 weeks' time, but just a little bit of a snippet, Jackie.
Kia ora, I'm just trying to find it on my other device, getting it there.
Okay, so just a little
starting.
sneak peek,
A little bit
sneak
of
peek of today's session,
massage to
which
do.
will then be
Is it organising
completed
it?
in another 2 weeks' time. So thank you, Jackie, for all that. Beautiful mahi. Thank you. Now we're going to share the, if you don't mind, you can either share back some feedback on today's session in the chat forum on what you'd like, what you didn't like, what was helpful, what wasn't useful. Please note that in the chat forum. But our pānui for our for the next lot of sessions is we have Practice Foundation who would like to, we'll send out email invites for the next session. If you haven't already, we'll sign up to the Pro Design Labs website or by email. But our last month's session was on Miho Taniwha. The new toolkit can be found on the lab website, and you can also register your interest there for joining the Miho Taniwha community of practice. So woohoo! That's up, will be up and running. But next month's session will be led by Carl Whitson. Carl Whitson is of Ngāi Tahu Kati Mamoi, Waitaha, Ngāti Toa Rangatira, Moriori and Pākehā descent. He is co-founded and recently co-chaired Ngā Aho Māori Design Society and is a part president of Designers Institute of New Zealand and has held numerous leadership roles. His term on Toimai Workforce Development Council Board finished. He has helped steer a major economic analysis of the creative sector with Shamu Equip. His current focus is on repositioning at the creative economy with Aotearoa's political fabric, highlighting its true scale, value, and global potential. Nō reira te whānau, e ngā kaimahi putanoa o Aotearoa, tēnei au e mihi nei kia koutou pai wahi mai tēnei rā. Nō reira, hei whakakapi ake i tā tātou wāhanga, kia karakia tātou. Kia whakairihia te tapu kia wā te ai te ara, kia tūru ki whakatahai, kia tūru ki whakatahai, whānau, para mai te toke, haumi e, hui e, tai ki. Kia pai te rai, Mama. Have a good day.